I've been clear on so many occasions. I live for DC. I love DC movies and TV shows. I love the DC world. And I love you, the DC fans. Now, I'm a bit frustrated and angry today because of certain fans out there, right? And I will say this again. Most of the Snyder fans are wonderful people. I want to give a round of applause and my respect to the Snyder fans who congratulated David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan on their roles in Superman Legacy as Lois and Clark. Well done. That's how real fans behave. But there is a bad element to the Snyderverse fandom. About, let's say, 3% of them are attacking James Gunn constantly on Twitter, retweeting and screenshotting the old historical tweets that have already been dealt with, right? They've driven the man basically off of Twitter. Why does that frustrate me and anger me? First of all, bullying is wrong. Secondly, it means people like me who are on Twitter a lot to collect daily information of DC Universe updates for you on my videos can't do that because now the man's been driven to Threads and I'm not on Threads because I'm in between phones and my phone doesn't have the memory to be on every single piece of social media. So it's frustrating for me as a DC fan, and I'm here to serve you, the DC fans. How can I serve you? If he's been bullied off the platform I'm mostly on, I have to be on Threads now. And I have to rely on some fans. So if you're on Twitter and you find out a piece of information, DM me, let me know. I can collate this information and then we can talk about it in a fun, exciting way on these videos. Don't be those people. Stop making up stories about James Gunn. Stop trying to get him fired. He ain't getting fired. The only way James gets fired is if his universe, if his Superman Legacy movie flops at the box office. Now, if you hate him that deeply, do something about that. Don't go and watch his movies. Tell your mates not to go and see the movie. Right? I'd rather you didn't do that because I want all DC content to do well as a fan. As I say, I love mostly all the Snyderverse fans. I love DC. I love the Snyderverse. I love James Gunn's Marvel movies. I love Peacemaker. I love the Suicide Squad. I'm a lover more than a hater. I'm sure you've noticed that. And you know my passion for entertainment, television, and film. I've been watching film and TV all my fucking life. I'm part of the industry. I grew up in the industry. I love it. I'm fed up of this culture war bullshit. I'm fed up of the negativity in this industry from the people who work in it and the people who consume it today. I am fed up of the whole situation. So hopefully James Gunn, if he's not bullied as much, will come back to Twitter. But obviously I'm going to be going on Threads a lot more. So if I've missed any DCU information, I do apologise. But anyway, there are a couple of DC Universe updates from James Gunn that I have collated. So, number one, there will be many Superman Legacy casting announcements once the SAG-AFTRA actors and the the industry's negotiations come to an end and the actor strikes are over. So there's going to be big casting announcements. Lex Luthor, Jimmy Olsen, bring it freaking on. Again, I love what Snyder did, but I'm excited. It's a Superman film. A DC cinematic universe is being formulated. That's exciting. Whether I'm going to like what we get or not, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to love or hate or just shrug my shoulders at Superman Legacy, but until I see the damn movie, I can't make my mind up. That's how entertainment and artistic consumption should work. So, there's a bigger story going around, and I don't know if this is from James Gunn himself. So apparently, he's going to adapt Justice League International. But Mick, we've never read Justice League International before. What's it all about? Neither have I, but I've done my research for this very video. So, Justice League International, basically after being kind of attacked by Godfrey, his name Godfrey is this newsman who hates the Justice League, who hates metahumans. So what happens is the Justice League becomes more of an international presence, not just an American presence. So basically it's run by Maxwell Lord. So this is very interesting because it looks like Maxwell Lord will be running Justice League International, if this rumour is true, in DC Universe. The question is, will he recast the role of Maxwell Lord, or will he bring back Pedro Pascal? That is going to be very, very interesting. What do I think of Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord in Wonder Woman 84? Well, the man's performance was outstanding. The man's role, I mean, he's not really Maxwell Lord from the comics in the movie, right? And he's supposed to be some kind of, kind of horrible man, and he's supposed to be Donald Trump. We know how these people think. But the actual character of Maxwell Lord is very well done in the movie. I thought it was quite well written. And the performance by Pascal was absolutely fantastic. So I wouldn't have much of an issue about Pedro Pascal continuing that role. But I think that James Gunn is a bit of a stickler at times for comic book accuracy, and at other times he's not. For example, the way he cast the villain in Guardians Volume 3 was very different to the version of that character they have in the comics aesthetically. So that's interesting, but that casting was brilliant for Guardians Volume 3. We have the vigilante character in Peacemaker, absolutely the stark opposite of the character and his personality in DC Comics. But it was a great interpretation. It was a great adaptation. If it works and it's non-canonical and it's not accurate to the comics, I'm fine with it. It's when they do something different and it's bad and it doesn't work, I have an issue with. So what do I think of this, of Maxwell Lord being in charge of Justice League? I think it's very interesting, and you can expect a few clashes between Maxwell Lord and Amanda Waller as well, which again will be a very interesting premise. And this is what interests me about James Gunn. He is an interesting guy. He has got this comic book knowledge, but it's not one type of comic book. He read, obviously, different types of Marvel and DC comics growing up. I am not really a comic book reader. I do have a collection of DC comics as a fan, but I haven't read many comics. So it's a bit like my football knowledge. I love Manchester United, but I'm not a football expert. Doesn't mean I don't have the right to be a fan and to give my opinion. I still have enough knowledge to give an opinion about these situations. But yes, I think this is very, very exciting, and I think kind of doing my research as I did today before doing this video on Justice League International, I think it's very, very interesting because it used to be called the Justice League of America, but then in the 80s they did Justice League International. The graphic novels, the comic series ran for quite a while. It was quite successful. I've asked fans what they think about it. Basically, I wanted to know from fans who actually read the comics, not people who are just going to say, oh, what a bad idea, without actually reading the comics. So the feedback I've had from fans is very interesting and very, very positive. And I've always loved Maxwell Lord in the DC universe. So this excites me. So it will be interesting to see if we keep Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord, or if we don't keep Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord. That will be a very, very interesting situation. So this is exciting news. These are exciting updates. These are the updates I want to hear from James Gunn. But I have to go on other platforms because he's been driven off Twitter. Twitter's interesting right now with Elon Musk running it. I do pay for a blue tick. But there's a lot of people paying for blue ticks who, let's just say, are pushing toxic narratives, and it's a problem. And, you've got to look at the blue tick thing. Just because I've paid for a blue tick, it doesn't mean I'm special. I've paid for a blue tick. The reason I paid for a blue tick is I wanted a little blue tick by my name, and I know more people will see my posts. But I think the older system of celebrities having the blue ticks and us lot not having the blue ticks was probably a lot better. And, Twitter is changing all the time for the worst as far as I'm concerned. and it's not great. And it's just a shame that James has been pushed off the platform. As I say, at the end of the day, we miss out. As fans, we miss out because we're missing out on information. If you didn't know he was on Threads and you were waiting for information on Twitter, you're not going to get it unless someone, people are screenshotting stuff and putting it on Twitter, which is great. That's a great service. So I thank those fans on Twitter for doing that. But we are missing out because other people can't handle the fact that their director is no longer a part of DC. I don't have a director. I love film, I love TV, I love entertainment generally. And a new DC universe, a fully rebooted DC universe is being formulated. That's the way it is. Whatever you do, however loud you cry, that is what's happening. Now, in 2013, Man of Steel was released and it was unfairly compared to Joss Whedon's first Avengers movie. Avengers was a great movie. It was the first team-up movie. It worked, it excited the general audience and Marvel fans together. It worked, but it was unfairly, Man of Steel was being unfairly compared to that movie. How do you compare a Superman origin story with an Avengers movie, a team-up movie? So that was unfair. Well, it's looking like the Fantastic Four and Superman Legacy will be shooting around the same time, which is spring of 2024. So as I say, once the SAG-AFTRA industrial action finishes, we're going to be hearing a lot more information about both of these films, and that's really exciting. As you know, I'm more of a DC man than a Marvel man. So, if these films are shooting at the same time, and as long as these strikes are resolved quickly in the next 7 to 10 days, 2 weeks, I think, this scheduling can stay intact. Which probably means if they're both being shot and filmed and produced around, spring 2024, you would expect them to have a release date. I don't know what the Fantastic Four movie's release date is, if it has a release date at this moment in time. So, my question to you is, which movie will be the better movie? Which movie will be more successful? Superman Legacy or the Fantastic Four movie? The Fantastic Four is a very big part of Stan Lee's Marvel Comics. Very important part in Marvel's history. And Marvel have been, the MCU are in a lot of trouble right now. They're not making the money. There's not the interest there. Their Disney Plus shows haven't got the ratings, and there's not the hype and excitement in the MCU there used to be. So a DC movie going up against a Marvel movie isn't the same thing as it was before. This means James Gunn's Superman Legacy does have a chance to be either as successful as Marvel's Fantastic Four or even more successful. Basically, whatever movie shaves against the grain less will be more successful. And we do know that Marvel Studios have been shaving against the grain for too long. And they've got certain YouTubers, let's just call them what they are, the fandom menace. They've really targeted Disney. They don't like Disney. And whether you like the fandom menace or not, they have a lot of influence. And, once they target you, they get you in trouble, basically. It's the fact of life. Do I think? I don't know. I subscribe to fandom menace YouTubers. They amuse me. Some of the things they say about the industry, I absolutely agree with. I don't agree with their politics. I don't care about their politics. It's about the entertainment discussion for me. But it's going to be interesting here because it's not just who shaves against the grain less who wins. It's obviously the old-fashioned thing of whoever makes the better movie. I think James Gunn the stuff that James Gunn is telling us he's planning on doing, the things he's hinting about, the rumours, I'm interested. I must admit, I was, a few months ago, I was a little bit more negative about James and where we were going with this because I didn't really know where we were going and I was getting triggered by these DCEU movies and the marketing and the misinformation and sometimes the lies about the quality of these movies. But now I'm in a place where I can look towards the future and hopefully Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is the movie that everyone wants it to be. I enjoyed watching it in the test screening. I think it's a great movie. If hopefully it's the movie that I saw and we can all enjoy it. But beyond Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is a promising future with what I'm hearing. As I say, I'm a lot more positive about that future than I was. No, that doesn't make me a flip-flop. It means that I kind of move every time I get new information. So the information I'm getting is very, very exciting. I think that Maxwell Lord leading the Justice League is an interesting thing. Maxwell Lord is a very interesting, unique part of DC history. And I think it's great that if it's true that James is actually, involving him, I think it's a good thing, because Wonder Woman 84, that Maxwell Lord wasn't the Maxwell Lord we know and love from the comics. And I certainly would like to see a more comic book accurate Maxwell Lord, because the character deserves that. As I say, it will be interesting to see if Pedro Pascal keeps that role or if it's recast. Don't forget, even though the DCU is a full reboot, it's a reboot from the Flash movie after Barry reset the universe. So it's a spin-off. Basically, DC Universe is spinning off of the DCEU. So James can decide to keep Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord, and that would make sense canonically, or he can recast and say, because that's what he's saying, some characters will stay the same with the same actors and some won't, but their history in the DCEU is finished. So if Pedro Pascal was to play Maxwell Lord in DC Universe, in a Justice League International movie, or even in Superman Legacy to introduce him, his history would be finished. He would be starting again. As James has already said, nothing is canon in DC Universe until Creature Commandos and Superman Legacy. So that's the way it's going to work. What is my hunch about Pedro Pascal keeping the role? I doubt Pedro Pascal will keep this role. I could be wrong. I would think that there will be a recast here, but I'm not too sure. But as I say, I think these kind of roles, because I think that Maxwell Lord could feature in Superman Legacy, and I think this Justice League International may even be set up via Superman Legacy, which is really, really exciting for me and all DC fans. I think if you're a DC fan, you will be excited about these situations that James is teasing and setting up. So these are very, very interesting premises. So yeah, I do expect it to be a new actor playing Maxwell Lord. But as I say, Pedro Pascal is a really good actor. And if James wants to keep him, he keeps him. It's as simple as that. But I don't think he's going to keep Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord. But it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Yeah, I do think that Superman Legacy can be more successful than Fantastic Four. I think Fantastic Four... Listen, if you made an epic, comic book accurate Fantastic Four movie, I think, and you make an epic, brilliant Superman Legacy movie, both can be successful. There's no reason why both movies can't be successful. There's no reason why one movie has to be successful and the other one isn't. If one's great and one's not, one's going to be more successful than the other. That's how the cookie crumbles. That's how it should work. You should be punished for making bad art, right? You shouldn't be rewarded for doing something that's not very good. I know New Hollywood don't understand that concept, but we're in charge. We decide what's successful. You make the shit. We tell you if we value that shit or not. That's how it works. I'm sorry to shatter New Hollywood's illusions. But anyway, I do believe that Superman Legacy could be more successful than Fantastic Four. I think Superman Legacy has everything to be a really, really successful movie. It can both be a brilliant Superman movie that shows us the beautiful bond between Superman and Lois, Clark and Lois, but it also can be an epic, exciting, awesome Superman movie that also sets up DC Universe with things like Justice League International, Lobo. I mean, James Gunn is teasing a lot of exciting things from the comics. Now, someone asked him years ago, will it be more like the DCAU, the DC Animated Universe? And he admitted in places it would be. He's already admitted it's going to be a more fantastical universe than Grounded. And I'm bored of grounded CBMs. Now, let me be clear. I think it's great that Matt Reeves' The Batman is grounded, or the Joker movie is grounded. That's great for that. But I think when you're dealing with a cinematic universe, you can be fantastical. You can give the audience a lot more escapism. And I think that's really, really important. So yeah, I think that Superman Legacy is in with a great shout of being more successful than Fantastic Four, because it's interesting, right? Because we find ourselves in the same situation as back in 2013. Man of Steel and the DCEU was the new kid on the block, and obviously the MCU had several movies, including a very successful Avengers movie that at the time was the most successful comic book movie of all time. And with Superman Legacy, DC will be the new kids on the block. The DCU is a brand new franchise, while Marvel has got 20 plus movies under its belt. And so again, we come in as the underdogs. But I don't think we're going to be as much of the underdogs as we were back in 2013, because Man of Steel came after Avengers. As I say, the most successful comic book movie at that time. And if I do my maths and we look at the Marvel movies that will come out prior to Superman Legacy in 2025, I don't really think there's anything coming that can be that successful unless Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios and Disney change their mentality. So things stay the same with DC. Obviously, the DCEU has had many, many flops and underwhelming movies to this point. So James Gunn is under a lot of pressure to deliver. The pressure is more from DC fans than a successful Marvel universe. But the Marvel Cinematic Universe isn't the trend, isn't the hype train it used to be. So I don't think the problem is, between us and Marvel. The problem is that DC has failed. The DCEU didn't work out. And, we can see that, these string of flops are a problem. But it does give James Gunn a chance to succeed. It's clear the decision to reboot the DCEU is the right decision, because that isn't working. It didn't work. It's as simple as that. I can tell you that I loved Snyder's movies, and I did. But his movies were very polarizing, they divided the audience, and there is the fact of the matter. So ultimately, as much as I love Snyder and his DC movies, bring on Rebel Moon, by the way, very excited about all of that. Real director's cuts that will be have an hour of extra footage, right? So the first Rebel Moon will have a very, 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 very extended director's cut, which is exciting. But going back to DC, there's a new DC universe being planned, and you can be unhappy about it. You can be frustrated with the way Cavill was treated. I'm frustrated about that. But I'm also here to celebrate DC and look forward to what James Gunn's planning. And as I said on the top of the show, if it doesn't work out, if it isn't any good, you know me by now. I'm one of the few content creators that's going to be honest with you. I'm not going to come out of a movie and tell you it's great when it's not. Nobody's paying me. This is not a successful platform. This is just the fan who grew up in the entertainment industry, who's trained as an actor and all of that. But I'm like you. Apart from that, I'm like you. So I love this shit and I want this shit to be good. But in my desperation for DC to be shit, I'm not going to lie to you about the quality of the movies. This is really the final opportunity to be successful with DC. Todd Phillips has done it with his Joker movie and hopefully with his Joker sequel. Matt Reeves did it with the Batman and hopefully with his Batman cinematic universe as well. So that's all great. But now James Gunn is working on this cinematic universe that will, involve gaming and animation and streaming and television. And that's very, very exciting if it's done properly. But thus far, the casting for Superman Legacy has been very exciting. I haven't got any issue with anything that I've heard about Superman Legacy. I'm hyped about it. I'll be hyped to know more about Brave and the Bold and the other stuff that's already been announced. But I've said to you before, I don't expect any of those other projects to go into production or deeply be developed until they know if Superman Legacy has been successful or not. And I think they can find things out about Superman Legacy and hype once they release a trailer and everything, so then they'll know if they're onto something or not. I mean, it is a problem not to do anything about the other projects until Superman Legacy comes out. I could be wrong about that, of course. They could start making the other stuff, but I do think they understand what happened with BVS was very wrong, where, BVS came out, it was very polarizing, huge opening, then a huge drop-off, but they had Zack Snyder already making Justice League, and that was a problem, because they had leaped before the horse had bolted, and that's always a problem in business and in life. So I think they'll be very, very gradual. You won't have a lot of DC movies per year. James Gunn will go at his own pace, and I think this is a very, very good idea. They have put him in charge. He is the creative in charge. It's going to be interesting what kind of movies and TV shows and animation he gives us. He is a talented creative. He has got comic book knowledge. He has everything in his locker to be successful at this, but we do live in very politically aggressive, very polarizing times, not just in the entertainment industry, but generally in the world we live in. And it seems that we can't enjoy anything anymore without the culture war rearing its ugly head. For me, it's a big tragedy because I just want to enjoy my entertainment. I want great DC streaming, TV, animation, and movies. This character is my main man. Nothing in fiction is more important to me than Superman. So I'm not going to sit here saying horrible things about James Gunn and praying before I go to bed that his movie fails so Zack Snyder can come back, which he won't anyway. Right? James Gunn is the future of DC. I want him to succeed. I want DC to finally succeed. There's been a lot of problems with DC films in the past. Bad decisions. Let's hope putting James Gunn as co-CEO of DC Studios was a wise move by David Zaslav. In the summer of 2025, that question will be answered. There'll be no hiding for James Gunn. This will either uplift him as a writer-director or it will destroy his career for good. Because at the end of the day, when you're involved in these situations, James Gunn has put himself there. He's put himself under the axe. There's people who want him to fail. There's people who want him to succeed. There's people excited about his leadership of DC Studios. There's some people who are not happy about his leadership of DC Studios. So he's under a lot of pressure. And, in life, it is about how you handle pressure. He also said Batmite won't be in Peacemaker 2. Someone actually asked him that question. That's the good thing about Gunn. You ask him questions, he directly answers those questions, which is great. It's just a shame he's not doing it on Twitter because people have driven him off the platform. I think it's unfair for the fans who want the information. And I want to keep on delivering these daily half-an-hour updates and these conversations. I enjoy having these daily conversations with you. So anyway, your main headlines today. It looks like James Gunn is adapting the Justice League International graphic novel for his version of the Justice League in DCU. This is a version, an 80s version of the Justice League coming out from Justice League America and having Maxwell Lord running Justice League International. I think this is a really exciting idea. I'm hoping we get a really good actor to play Maxwell Lord. It could still be Pedro Pascal. I'm fine with that, but I doubt Pedro will continue to play Maxwell Lord. So yes, I like the idea of Justice League International. Some people will be triggered because it's not America anymore, it's international. Maybe some fools will call it woke. That is not woke, my friends. It's just a version of the comics. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about everything I'm hearing for the future of DC and Superman Legacy. I will be back tomorrow with more DC conversations and more updates. Until then, goodbye.